James Clem, how are you doing today, brother? You doing all
Todd,
right?
I'm doing really well. I had a really good evening getting the completion of my application for the payroll protection plan. They called me and they said we got an hour and a half to complete this. Otherwise, the door's shutting. And, it was so nice because my bookkeeper was on guard and we got all the information in to complete the application. And I'll tell you, I felt like I was taking boards part two in dental school. It was that type of adrenaline rush.
Because you're under
Yeah, and they're working so hard. They're just working around the clock. And I talked to my accountant yesterday who sees a lot of dentists, and he says about 50% of them in California have been able to process that thus far. So I'm grateful this morning because
Amen.
it gives us a little more turnaround room. And yeah, I'm good.
The funny thing
And
is,
you?
I had a rough night. I'll tell you about it. I told you in our video yesterday, our webcast,
Yeah.
that we're all starting unnatural normals or routines.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I fell asleep on the couch last night, and because I'm used to going to sleep at midnight, and I got a picture of me sleeping right here. My wife took a picture of me, and our little dog is sticking his nose out. Let's see, where is it? Right
Right there.
Oh, there he is.
Right there.
Right
Oh, yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah.
And that's my good trooper. He's a cool little guy. And
What's his name? What's his name again?
Trooper. His
Trooper.
name.
Okay.
He's a long hair miniature dachshund, and he was
Yeah.
only about this big when he came home. And my boys were little kids, and they were like, "Dad, we want to name him Stormtrooper or Darth Vader." And I go, "Nah, it's
Love
Trooper." So it's Trooper.
Well,
Hey,
what would life be without our canines? And right now, I'm looking right down at Jordan. He's just my shepherd, and he's just watching me, making sure I'm doing everything right.
yeah.
You're a good boy, Jordan. Jordan's middle name is Boy Boy. I don't know if I've ever, if he were a singer, he'd be part of a boy band,
Are we supposed to give dogs middle names? I didn't know.
Yeah, well,
We're way on.
It's just like, and he responds to Boy Boy as well. So it's Jordan Boy Boy Clem.
Yeah. Well, one last thing, and I hate to admit this, but since I slept on the couch, I slept in, and I had to race to the office to do our webinar, much like our next guest had some trouble getting online. And I'll admit, I'm wearing the same clothes as I wore yesterday. I didn't have time to shower or anything. I had to get on here and boogie down the road.
I didn't know it, Todd. I didn't know.
Nobody
You look
cares.
great. But
I don't
in
have
Texas,
anybody in my office. There's nobody here, so what difference does it make?
It's okay. It's like camping. You're out camping. You're in a great environment. You're looking at great scenes, and you're just having a good time. And that's what we're doing right now. We are having a great time. And thanks to the guests who have come on. We're looking for our guests today, and thank you for the guests that will be coming on.
Yeah, let's bring on Dr. Michael and Dr. Marisa. You guys, we love you guys. You are some of our. When I'm on Facebook and I see your stuff, I always click it because I need to know what you guys are doing. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Yeah.
Well, I do have clean clothes on today, I'm happy to say, although I apologize for getting a late start. It turned out that the internet service at our house was way slower than I imagined it to be. So I'm Mike Fisher, and my partner, Marisa Zitterich. We've been in practice together now coming up on 5 years this year. It's hard to believe it's been almost that long. But I've been in practice now 30 years this summer, and this has been the strangest year ever for sure. No question about it.
Well, I've been following you on Facebook, and I feel like I'm part of your team. I followed your open house, and I am determined to come be a fly on the wall, not a mouse in the corner, but just I want to watch you guys because when I look at your facility, it just makes me warm inside. That was a big event that you guys went through, and a lot of future-focused vision that you have. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're going through? Because I know our viewing audience would love to know.
Marisa?
So it was so exciting, honestly, having our grand opening and having everyone that has helped us along the past few years get to this point. And, we were creating these new routines and this new sense of normalcy in this brand new office, brand new equipment, all of these protocols we've never done before. And then this happened and it caught us by surprise. And, we even know now that when we get back into the office that we're going to even have a new norm. So there's just been a lot of things thrown our way. We're still really excited. I mean, the project of our new building, it's been so long, so much heart, so much sweat, and maybe even a few tears of construction. But we're really excited to get back in. So
yeah, and Michael, we know that you're actually at the office today, and we hear some action going on upstairs, don't we?
Yeah, I wish that was a fun story to relay, but they're taking our roof off right now. We moved into the office 6 weeks before we closed the office, which I'll get to in a second. But they're taking the roof off now to put a brand new roof on. So I apologize for the hammering. I originally planned to do this from home until we found out the internet service wouldn't work there. So if it's noisy, that's why.
No, it's great. That noise actually makes me feel good inside because it seems like something's happening.
Yeah.
I'm glad you see that. We felt that way 6 months ago when the roof went on the first time. Yes, that's true. But that's kind of a fun story, just how this office came about.
Yeah. Why don't you
tell us about it?
Why don't you?
You guys both know our stories because we spent time with each of you at your places. But I have to confess, for about 25 years, I was a confirmed dental bachelor. My wife and I, Carla, started the practice way back when. She's always been my partner through all that, but she loves to stay behind the scenes. She's our CFO, so we really do jokingly say she is honestly the most important person in the practice, because without her, the lights wouldn't be on, the bills wouldn't be paid. She does all of that stuff. But we had just a small private practice. We loved the work we did. We felt we did some fun high-end stuff. We were never a high-volume practice at all. But it was outgrowing what I was capable of doing. The idea, though, of bringing in a partner was never even on my radar. Certainly not even bringing in an associate. I just always assumed I would be by myself in my little office until I was ready to ride off into the sunset. And then we met Marisa about 5 years ago now, and through a fun course of events, we realized quite quickly we had a synergy. I mean, I'm a very protective sort. I saw her as a daughter right away because she's about our kid's age. And so for me, it was easy to want to kind of take her under a wing and share things that I loved teaching, but I'd gotten out of teaching years ago, so I just didn't have time. And I love the idea of being able to teach and impart what I thought I knew, but then I've just as much, if not more so, loved seeing everything now through her younger eyes, because it's given me a revitalization that I had not expected. So as we joined partners and joined forces a few years ago, it became evident very quickly that my little office was not going to support the both of us. And so we were running literally like a carousel. We had to have the schedule so tightly choreographed that if either one of us went over 2 to 5 minutes in a procedure, it threw the other one off because they needed that room. So we knew early on we needed to move. And that started the process of deciding, do we leasehold improve? Do we build from scratch? What do we do? Well, we decided to buy the last piece of dirt in our hometown, which from a real estate strategy is not the best thing to do financially. I waited 10 years till it went to the absolute highest value it possibly could before we bought it. But it is what it is. And so we started building, and that had been a 2-year ordeal that I never, ever wish to go through again. I love now that it's done, or almost done, but the fun thing was realizing that we were designing a new home, not just for the end of my career, but for the beginning of Marisa's and her entire career. And then in the midst of this last couple of years, our daughter has decided to go to dental school. Carla's in my daughter, Monica, and she starts this fall. And so the really fun thing for me is kind of the dental dad is seeing a place that is going to be their home for the rest of their career. And that's been just an absolute blast.
You are the dental dad. Yes.
Yeah.
I get
Michael,
sappy that way.
Hey, Michael, can I make a challenge with you, and we'll both share this? We're going to go till we're in our 80s because we're in love with what we do, right?
Yeah.
Well, I am more so all the time, but I've told Marisa and later Monica, I want to stay here as long as they'll let me and as long as I can still do something productive.
There are conditions to every dream. So, Marisa, when you guys made the transition, I saw a video on Facebook of your team members moving the new supplies and equipment in. What was that like for your team, and what type of energy did that create?
Everyone was so excited because they knew that there were some stressors in the existing office. We were out of space. And I mean, we joked about needing some restaurant mirrors around corners because I can't tell you how many team members I just ran into and then we just kind of hugged real quick. But it was so exciting moving into the new office and just having a fresh start. And it was a totally different color scheme. And so everyone was so excited. And even when we thought we'd originally move in, everyone told us this, and we didn't think it would happen, but we moved in later than what we thought we would. And so it was just this kind of build up and this anticipation of getting into the new office. So I can't wait to get back, actually.
I know. So in this downtime, what are you folks doing in communicating? I know you've been doing Zoom connections with your team. How are you doing the dialogue with your communication and getting up and started hopefully next week?
Yeah.
One great thing is we've been incredibly blessed, and Todd may have a picture that he'll show here. We've got an incredible team. We've got a team that I would rival against anybody in the world. And they're led by a practice administrator that is absolutely the best in the world. And so she has really taken so much load off of Marissa's and my plate because she has instigated the communication and the connection and all that. So we do weekly Zoom meetings with the ladies, typically on Monday afternoon with everybody. But through the week, we'll do sub-Zoom meetings with different groups. Marisa, Pam, Carl, and I have a text stream that literally is live all day long. It almost never goes off. So we have been in communication every bit virtually as we ever were physically. Yeah.
You know, that's amazing because I know that an office that operates that way, it always starts at the top. And the fact that you can delegate and the fact that you hire people that reflect your vision is no easy task. So my compliments to both of you folks on that. So as you see yourself opening up, what type of protocols are you taking and to build the perception of safety for your clients, which I know you already do? Are there any steps that you could share that we can all learn from?
So, so thankfully our facility, our practice is brand new and everything's so clean. And in fact, all of our treatment rooms are just so big, and but we are doing certain things to get prepared. I personally feel so comfortable getting back, and I know that we already have, certain protocols in place that we felt comfortable working on patients that might have had other things that, wasn't coronavirus, but we are taking extra measures and extra steps. So, we've bought all sorts of face shields. We have filters in every single treatment room. We are doing a softer start, so we won't have near as many patients in our office at a given time. We've added at least 30 minutes onto the schedule for each appointment. And then just making sure we rotate rooms. So we have, our office now is 3 times bigger than it was. So we're going to be able to see a patient and then switch to another room, and that room will be able to sit for several hours before getting somebody else back. So, and then
I got to stop you just for a second, because there's a good shout out. Whenever there's a shout out that's so good, I got to put it up right now from Pat McKee. Dr. Z's grandma's here. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Pat, for showing up. Awesome. Yeah. You guys are getting a lot of love, that's for sure.
Lots of love.
Thank you, Cindy, for joining. Appreciate that. And then Kaylin Fleming has said, hi, Marissa, with a big heart. So anyway. Well,
more
you guys
along those same lines that have been a real blessing for us is just the design of the office. And this was, I prefer to go back to God's leading before we even knew we needed it, because when we were designing this office, we were imagining a very traditional dental office with dual operatory entries and things like that. Kapler, who's become a dear friend of ours now from Germany, who did our office design, really stressed single entry treatment rooms. And that was completely unlike anything I had ever had ever. And I know James and I came up at the same time in dentistry, and so we're very much a product of our environment and our generation. And when they told us about having only one room into the treatment room, one door, I thought that does not work. And they convinced us it does. We traveled around to look at other offices, Mona Patel's being one who was on just recently. And we were convinced that we're going to trust them. And so I'm so glad we did, because the layout of our rooms now, we design larger rooms that have a lot more spacious feel, which, being a big guy like me, I just like. It means I don't bump the cabinets as much when I'm moving around and rolling around to talk to people. But it also means we have room now to close a door, have a sense of privacy. Since they're glass doors, they don't feel secluded, but they do give a sense of kind of cloistering and sort of enveloping and protecting a patient. So the design turned out to be really wonderful in that respect.
Michael, that really hit me when I was watching your room size, which is what I would love to have. I like that big space, and I think that's going to be emotionally really good for people.
I think
because
so.
When they come into our treatment rooms, we're already invading their privacy, right? Because we're working in their mouth. And I have one room that's larger than the other, and I always feel better in there. And so I really admire what you did with that. Thanks for sharing.
Well, the fun thing was we designed the office with your technology in mind, all the CAD/CAM things that we learned from you guys. Because, again, when we set up the old office we were in, CAD/CAM was around, but it wasn't on my radar screen. And I never thought I'd have it. I never thought I needed it or wanted it. So I designed a very traditional office, dark colors, all the manly stuff that, seemed to be so appropriate for me, because I figured I'm the only one that will ever be there. And when we put this place together, aside from the lighter, airier scheme that was kind of Marissa's inspiration, we designed it around the technology so that it engulfed the technology rather than technology getting squeezed and pigeonholed in. Because that was a fun thing between Marisa and I. When we first got together, I was convinced I didn't need CBCT. I definitely didn't need CEREC. I was very, very old school. And I'm confessing right now, because I want to segue into why I was wrong.
Yeah, so you just go ahead and confess all you got.
I want to teach everybody through my ignorance. Very old school, where I love sitting down, and our practices are very much like yours, where we love one patient at a time. We don't bounce all over the place. And for me, I would enjoy sitting down for 3 or 4 hours at a time and doing an arch or doing a full arch of implants. And so I had done that in my traditional way for so long, traditional waxing, traditional denture setting, everything. The technology seemed to me to be a fun diversion for somebody. I had no idea that it would ever have application with me. And so when Marisa joined the practice, we became partners that very fall. After she graduated and joined the practice, we went to a CEREC
symposium.
Thank you very much. CEREC Summit that Patterson put on.
Yeah.
We went with the absolute idea of just going to see what it was about, because it was the thank you from our Patterson rep, which we all know is the sucker punch for, hey, we'll give you a free lunch if you'll buy something. We had no intention of really buying anything. That's when we met Dr. De Oliveira the first time, August De Oliveira. He spoke. By the end of the day, we had bought a CBCT and a CEREC. So that was a fun phone call to Carla. We get back in the truck. We're driving back to the office. Carla's there dutifully paying bills. And we call her and say, oh, by the way, we just spent $250,000 like that. So she's very used to that now. We dentists are that way. We love stuff. We love the gadgetry. What I didn't know is how we would integrate it. So I'll let Marisa lead on that, because we bought this stuff not knowing what we're going to do with it.
Well, what was funny, too, is I graduated from dental school, where literally by the time you were able to seat a crown, you were probably on appointment number 10, And then I joined the practice with this amazing dentist, and we decided to jump into this technology-driven world. And so that was just huge for our new office. And, single visit dentistry, and just making sure we had a CBCT so that nothing's ever hidden. We know exactly what we're looking for. And then even our treatment centers, there are just so many opportunities with that. So it's been a really a fun thing.
Wow.
Well, and then integrating the mindset, because we had this stuff, we didn't know what to do with it. So that's how we learned of digital enamel, was we went down to Todd's place with Dr. De Oliveira the first time for a day of training in that. And then we realized, oh my gosh, and Todd wasn't there that day because it was actually for the CBC training. But Cindy was, so a shout out to Cindy and Hallie. His team
Cindy and Hallie.
They're incredible. And so we realized.
Well, let me stop you real quick because Cindy's on and she's watching and she says to you, their girls are awesome. Dr. Fisher is one lucky guy.
She's very kind. I'll call it blessed, but I'll lucky and blessed.
No, you're the lucky dude. Remember, you're the lucky dude of Ladies Week. Remember?
Hey, Todd, I'm still going to thank you for the time that we drove down to Austin and Dr. Fisher, his wife, me and my husband are checking into our hotel to go to your course the next day that we didn't sign up for. And then you let us come anyway, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, you were signed up in my heart, so that's where you were signed up.
There you go. That was our third course there with you guys. So we'd already been down twice. We felt like family. We felt so comfortable. We, unfortunately, I think Marisa thought I signed us up. I thought she signed us up. Carla's checking us in at the hotel the night before, and I make a mention about, hey, do you have everything ready for tomorrow? And she looks at me, Marisa does, like, I thought you did. So I'm embarrassed at 11 o'clock at night. I'm messaging Cindy and Hallie saying, okay, you might think this is funny, but we've driven all the way down from Dallas to Austin. We're not signed up. Would you possibly have any room in the course at this late day? And they were amazingly gracious to squeeze us in.
Hey, Mike, I just have one question for you. What is your internet speed?
I was just kidding. I'm scared to touch anything.
I'm just kidding. No, but then you ended up going up to Santa Rosa to see James and take his class.
We went through everything that digital enamel had to offer, and again, not to plug you guys shamelessly, but I'll plug you guys shamelessly. Please. It was life-changing for someone like me who had never been engaged in digital dentistry before. Because for me, I saw digital dentistry as a novelty of, oh, that's what someone does if they don't do it the regular way. And digital enamel and all the stuff that you guys did originally basically told me, oh my gosh, it's not that. It is everything but that. It's not just even same-day dentistry, which granted the convenience is unparalleled. I mean, patients never, ever want to come back to have temporary crown, removed and the final crown placed. But what became fun to us was the artistry of what it could do beyond that. Because my imagination of digital dentistry before I engaged it was it's same-day crowns just because. And then Todd originally gave me the vision of, oh my gosh, it's not just a same-day crown or veneer. Look at the artistry that you can do. And that then segued into going out to James's place there in California, which, by the way, I still hope you're going to do the full arch or the full mouth course later this fall because we will be back. And then going out to your place, Dr. Clem, and seeing and here's where it goes even farther. And so the combination of what we learned from both of your courses and from you guys, especially individually, has been just amazing. It's opened up the world that if you told me a year ago or 2 years ago now that we would do 6 veneers in the same day, I'd never believe it. Just before we closed this place down, we did a case, upper and lower arch, full CEREC, upper and lower arch in 2 days.
Hey, now that's a shout out to Weston Hatcher, isn't it? And his dad. I watched the video. I was a fly on your wall through the video.
Well, he's on. Weston's on right now, and he said, "Beautiful office and beautiful people."
Well, we brought in Weston Hatcher and his dad and Craig, and together with what we could do chairside, what they did in the lab, it was literally a paradigm shift for me entirely. And will we do every case like that? No. But the fact that we could do any case like that, to me, was just remarkable. I mean, it was fun. It was exhilarating. Sure, it was tiring. At the end of the second day, I think we were all kind of wiped. But we had an incredibly grateful patient. We had a patient who said literally he would have never done this any other way. That's why he put off his restoration forever, because he didn't like the traditional mentality. Yeah. So
I've always said if a dentist could have whatever restoration he wants in his own mouth, would he rather do it 1 visit or 2 visits?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
That's true.
And, I've learned a lot from James as well, and he did my teeth. But the one thing that always hit me hard with a quote from Clem was CEREC, or CAD/CAM dentistry, chairside CAD/CAM dentistry, can be whatever you want it to be. So all I did was took that message and gave it to you guys, because you guys are very high-end cosmetic dentist, and all you have to do is know how to run the process, and you can make it whatever you want it to be, for sure.
Todd, I feel like if dentistry doesn't work out for you, you, Cindy, and Hallie can have your own TV show.
Yeah.
Y'all are so funny, and obviously taught us how to use CEREC, and I mean, we got this box and we had no clue what to do with it. And then James, if dentistry doesn't work out for you, I think you could like teach meditation or yoga.
How about dog training? How about dog training?
That too.
Because you have your little pups right with you right now, don't you?
I do. They're under my feet. They actually just shook the camera, and I was like, please don't fall over.
Do you take him to work with you?
Oh, no. They're puppies, and they have to play and tug at each other. And
oh, there they are. They're on the screen. They are puppies. They look like really big puppies.
Yeah, so they're about 8 months old now, and they're boxers, so they just have a ton of energy.
Yes.
And they've actually kept me really entertained throughout this quarantine, I have to admit. So, yeah. And we even have a little courtyard in the back where patients can look out our big windows, and I joked about bringing them to play in the courtyard, but they would devour all the flowers, so we thought it was unwise.
Well, there may be a time. My Jordan, German Shepherd, goes to work with me, and we kind of started it out that way. Of course, he came trained, and he has it down now. He'll go in my study. My patients don't know he's there, and he just waits. And he wants to go to work. And I bought a special chair for him. That's his place that he goes to, and he knows when it's time to go home. And he had to actually adjust to the downtime because he didn't know why I wasn't getting up and going to the office. And so to do that. But we love our canines, don't we?
Yes. Mine have had more walks recently than ever before, so they're thrilled.
So you guys, let's get back to your team a little bit. Running a large team that you have right now, obviously it's been a struggle. I know you're communicating with them and everything, but how are you going to come back? I know you talked about a soft start, but emotionally, how are you keeping everybody in line and motivating? And you don't have to name any names or anything, but are you seeing anybody that's having reservations coming back?
I feel like we've done really well at communicating as a group, and we've had one-on-one phone calls so that people feel comfortable with telling us how they feel. And I think a lot of it from our perspective is, as a leader, it flows down. So if we're not comfortable going back, they're not going to be comfortable going back. And when we are, we have to tell them, what we're doing to keep everyone safe. Because I have to admit, through all of this, I've been more worried about patients and our team members. They truly come first. And I feel like when I, took the oath to become a dentist, I knew that some of the things that we do already before coronavirus even existed was risky. So I feel very comfortable getting back in and helping people and seeing where this goes. There's a chance we could get back in and get closed back down. But we've all stayed very optimistic, very honest with each other. And, I know Texas just came out, and we can actually go back this coming up Monday. But we've decided as a team, we were all mentally prepared, emotionally prepared to go back on the 11th. And so we stuck with that. We didn't just do a 360 and tell our team, hey, actually, we're going to speed this up. We'll see you next week. We just went with our original plan, and we just feel like it's so important for everyone to be on the same page, because we have to work as a team, or patients are going to sense that, if somebody's not all on board, or if they're nervous about something, they're going to feel that. So we're going to take next week to prepare and get ready and make sure that we have everything down so that people feel comfortable and we can get back to doing this dentistry thing.
Yeah, that was a really good point there. I haven't heard that quite perspective yet, but I think you're spot on, because people, and Todd and I, we've spoken about this several times. they're going to perceive us in many different ways. And they need to feel safe and secure, particularly with the time that we're in right now. And I really appreciate you sharing that point of view. I've learned so much from all these interviews, and I'm learning something today, which is great.
Yeah, we.
I think is,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is seeing that we've got a team of 12, and they are not an individual. They're 12 different people with totally different paradigms and perspectives and different life stories and different family situations. And we really saw that this last 6 now, almost 7, ultimately 8 weeks when we reopened, it's been a progression of all kinds of different emotions and thoughts through the process. I mean, when we made the call to close on the 16th, it's kind of funny. The week before, we had actually been in Miami, Carla and Marissa and I, for a DSD course with Christian coaching, having a ball. Yeah. We were thoroughly enjoying it. And in the middle of the course, the world changed around us. When we flew out there, I will confess, coronavirus was not even on my radar screen. I had heard of it vaguely, but I hadn't been following the news because I've been in construction mode here. So for the past year and a half, I've had 80-hour weeks of dentistry and construction management, and that was in my entire focus, and I was entirely engulfed in that. So when we went out there for that course, I wasn't even in that box entirely because I was still here thinking about what needs to be done construction-wise. And while we were there, the world changed rapidly. And at the morning of day 3, Christian came out and said, it looks like they're about to close the international flights. What do we do? And it was a unanimous consensus of the room. You guys are from Spain. You need to get back home to your families. And so here we are in the middle of a 4-day course, and it's over. We fly back home and realize, oh my gosh, what in the world's happening? And so we watched through the weekend. We watched your post and Todd's post, and it's all the sense of, is this really this big a deal? We've lived through SARS, we've lived through H1N1, we've lived through all these different things that never materialized where we lived. I don't know about you out in California, James, but here in Texas, we've always been very insulated from these things. So over the weekend, we imagined this is going to be pretty much a non-event for us again. Well, by Monday morning, it was evidently not as much. So by the time Marissa and I, when we signed off with each other Sunday night, it was like, okay, it's going to be fine. We just need to reassure the ladies in the morning. By the time we finished the morning meeting, what I loved was we engaged everybody. How do you feel? What are you thinking? And literally our collective mindset over the course of a 30-minute meeting went from, we're going to be fine, it's no big deal, to, you know what, the world's changing. We don't know how it's going to change yet, but we need to be on the leading edge of that rather than the following edge. And when we broke at 7:30, we started calling patients and letting them know we were going to electively close. At the time, I thought it'd be a week, maybe 2 if you pressed me. Never thought it'd be 8 weeks. But the great thing was the entire team made that decision as a collective group. It wasn't a pronouncement from us. And the neat thing was, over the course of the morning, as we're calling our patients, other dentists around town are calling us, asking us, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah. So that was a humbling thing, that we realized that people are looking to us in ways we don't even know, whether the community, whether patients, whether other dentists. So the weird thing was, the first couple of weeks we were home, I probably went through something of a bit of depression in a way. Yeah. Because I'd gone from these 80-hour high intense weeks to, I'm staying in bed till noon and I don't even want to get a shower till dinner time. And you said something yesterday, James, that so resonated with me, because I think we're so very much alike like this. I'm a very melancholy introvert. Yeah. When I am with people, I'm entirely, totally engaged. Yep. And when I'm not, I am absolutely almost in a state of deflation in a way. Yeah. Yeah. So that first week or 2 at home was tough for me because it was so unlike my life that I'd been accustomed to. Right. Then once we started to recognize, okay, things are changing, then I learned how to do Netflix and Amazon Prime Video. Decided to catch up on all the shows I've been missing for the last 20 years. Then we got really serious about what's reopening look like. So we have been crazy engaged, hours and hours a day, on studying everything we can online as far as gathering. And part of what you guys are so great about doing is gathering thoughts from so many different people, because you learn something from everybody. Great ideas about what to do and how to do that and what they're going to do. And so we've learned that from all your other videos. What we did was, as Dr. Zitterich said, we got HEPA filters with UVC light sanitation for every room right away. We've already got those in and working.
Mm-hmm.
We actually ordered extraoral suction units, things that I never thought we would use or have. But as I studied them, I thought, those make sense. For some procedures that produce a lot of aerosol, that idea makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to learn how to use a rubber dam again. I did that in middle school 30 years ago because we had to. I got away from it. But again, there are a lot of things that make sense. And I recognized the fun thing about that. I thought, I can't prep a crown with a rubber dam. And then I realized I can because I learned how to prep from Todd. And Todd taught me how to prep those higher margins, preserving more tooth structure, which means you can actually have a rubber dam clamp on a tooth and still do a full coverage restoration. And I love
you're filling me full of love, my friend. You don't know
there's
how
a lot of
much.
love with a lot of love.
But the fun thing is you realize that we are not in an island, but it's so easy to be in an island if we let ourselves. And it's easy to get out of community, especially when we're forced out of community in our homes for 8 weeks. And with what you guys started doing online and others have been incredible because it's pulled the community back together in a way that wouldn't have happened any other way.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate it.
And when we become dentists, most of us do it because we like working with our hands and we want to help people. We can't ignore the fact that we are running businesses, and it is scary, being shut down for such a long period of time. And so we've really felt too, like by doing the right thing and having the right team on board, if you do the right thing, the money's going to come. And so is it a scary time for dentists in particular? Yes, but we're confident that if we can get back in and, not bringing in a ton of people, doing things the right way and slowing down and being mindful of what we have on and how we're filtering the rooms, then I think that the small business economy hopefully will start to pick back up.
Yeah. My take on all this, sorry, James, is that a lot of this is perception. I mean, you guys are like coming right out of the gate great because you got a brand new facility. I mean, it smells new, everything feels new, everything feels clean, and the little added bonuses that you're doing. I want to hear your opinion on this because one of my little concerns is that if I walk into my operatory for the first time with a hazmat suit on, I'm afraid or fearful that my patients are going to think that I hadn't been doing things right to begin with. And, we've always, our universal precautions definitely cover this, but is it, what are you going to do about the perception of the patient? And what do you think the patient is going to have as far as flow through your beautiful brand new building?
We've talked about that a lot because to me, perception is reality. Regardless of what we think and know and for sure do, patient perception is everything. And patient perception is on that same continuum, just like our team is. Some on our team may be a little more trepidatious. Some may be completely at ease. Our patients are going to be the same way. And they'll follow our lead, but they're going to walk into the door with their own bias and paradigm based on what they're expecting. And so one of the things is, no, we don't want to, and that's the irony. I've sometimes jokingly made a little bit of fun of the dentists that work in hazmat suits removing amalgam. Probably shouldn't have, but I had that warped sense of humor. But we've all seen those pictures online now, especially the last few weeks of those dentists that, honest to gosh, look like they're treating Ebola in Uganda.
Right.
And that would scare the heck out of any patient.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a real tough tightrope to walk at first with letting the patient know that you're completely in tune with what's best for them, but not looking like you're scared of them. James commented on that yesterday because we both, I think when I started dental school, they just started wearing gloves.
Yeah.
And all of my dental school instructors were still grumbling about it. It's all I knew because I was that first or second class to put gloves on, so I didn't know otherwise. But all the dental school instructors thought how horrible. You commented how even some patients thought, well, what's wrong with me that you want to put those on before you touch
right.
them? For us, it's going to be about education and really engaging them super, super, super gently because everyone has a different emotional bias. The engineer is going to be thinking about, wow, what's the specifics of what you're doing? A specific mom or grandmother is going to be thinking about what's the care behind what you're doing. And it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
But we'll just need to explain to them, I'm putting this on to make sure you're totally protected.
And thankfully, nobody's going to walk into the practice and say, coronavirus, I've never heard of that. Every single person knows what's going on. And so I think it goes back to the vibes that you put off, because even think about going to the grocery store now. If somebody's helping you and they're treating you like a human, and even if they have a mask on and gloves and they're still putting off these good energy vibes, then you feel comfortable with them. But if they're, staying back and looking at you like you're a big germ, well, then they're not going to feel comfortable. So just making sure that we try to maintain the normal energy that we have in the office, but we might just have a little bit of extra stuff on. So.
Yeah. Well, I think, go ahead, Doug.
My standard question I've asked just about everybody. When you come back to work, do you think it's going to be drip, drip, drip at patients, or do you think it's going to be kind of a fire hose? I made Dr. Fisher uncomfortable with that question.
He was digging deep with
I can tell.
I think it's going to be both in a really weird way.
Okay. Tell us
blessedly, our administrative team has a almost scarily long list right now of emergency people that we haven't seen. Marissa and I both have gone in as needed for those truly emergent things, the swollen cracked molar, the abscess tooth. We've taken care of those people because we should.
Right.
Other things that were in our mindset of dental emergency really is different, because to a patient, a rough spot on a back molar is a dental emergency.
Correct.
I call a lot of things dental annoyances. Yeah, they're annoying.
I like that.
They're not emergencies. That's trademarked, but you can have it.
I'm writing it down right now, Michael.
And so we really tried to impress upon our patients, that's annoying as all get out. And I've spent far more time on text or emails or phone calls with patients explaining why we're not going to take care of that right away than if we actually took care of that right away. But it just wasn't appropriate. So I think when we first get in, we're going to have this long list of people that we've not taking care of those dental annoyances or minor emergencies over the last few weeks. And that's going to be a challenge because we're going to have to drive that schedule rather than letting that schedule drive us. Otherwise, we will be obliterated and exhausted the first 2 or 3 weeks back. It's like you were saying, Todd. I mean, I haven't held a handpiece in a while. I may have to get out my Dentiform too, just to make sure that those skills still feel comfortable.
I got a sarcastic little comment. Yeah. So we all live in Texas. James is in the country of California over there. Our governor. So a dental annoyance. I love that term. I'll just give a food for thought. If Governor Abbott broke one of his front teeth, would he think of that as a dental emergency or a dental annoyance? And would he go do a conference? Press conference with a broken front tooth. Now are we essential? You're dang right we're essential. And this whole idea that we can just be put off is ridiculous. I'm not happy about it. But anyway, that's all I got to say.
We posted a video funny the first or second week of this thing saying, it's ironic that dry cleaners and donut shops are open, but dental offices aren't. Exactly. So you can go get your donuts and get clean clothes, but you can't get your teeth taken care of. And again, I think we're going to be very, very, very busy with that crush of all the people that have been pent up. But I do believe there's going to be a different reality for a while in the kind of work that we specifically have done. I really believe so. And I don't say that cynically. I just say it realistically. We've been very blessed to have a practice over the years that we've done a lot of cosmetic work, a lot of what we would consider elective work, and a lot of full mouth restoration work, especially on an older population. There's nothing more gratifying than for me than taking a case from beginning to end with full hybrids and the entire process along the way. Yep. And I love that. I mean, it's like James talks about the emotional part of dentistry. Yeah. That makes me very emotional to realize that we have transformed a life, even when they don't always know quite what that means yet. We do. And so I do believe that the elective part of cosmetic dentistry is going to be curtailed for a bit. I just do. Yeah. I believe young people that might have been contemplating cosmetic dentistry they've been hurt by this crisis financially. There's just no way around it. Almost everybody has to different degrees. And I think they'll be less likely to cosmetically or electively spend money on cosmetic dentistry for a time. I think our older population that we've done so much with usually are doing those cases out of their excess and out of their investments and out of their life savings. And that's incredibly gratifying that people trust us with those resources that they've spent their life building. I've never, ever taken that for granted.
Right.
But I believe that population has seen the stock market go a bit wacky here the last, couple of months. And I think they're going to be less likely to initiate new cases for a while. So I do think on the higher end of dentistry, we're going to see a different degree of work than we've been accustomed to. I don't think it'll be indefinite. I think it's going to be months or maybe through the year, but I think it'll come back. I think, though, it's given, as Marisa and I have talked about, a sense of retrenching into the daily needs of dentistry that sometimes can get put on the back burner for the big work. Those.
Right.
I think about the cracked molars that I've watched in hygiene for years because I was too busy doing, multi-unit and full arch cases.
Sure.
I'd say, well, let's watch those cracks. Well, a cracked tooth never uncracks. Why are we watching those cracked molars?
Right.
Why are we watching things that we wouldn't want to watch in our own families? And how many times do we later do surgical extractions for implants on cracked molars that then cracked into the root? So I do think it's an opportunity to retrench into different levels of honest to gosh, and I hate to call it bread and butter or daily dentistry, but it's as vital as anything else. And so I think we're going to see an uptick in that and maybe a slower growth back into our larger cases. And Rich, I think you got thoughts too.
Yeah, just one moment. That's so powerful. And one of the things I've learned through the years is, using language well. And in our office, we use monitoring, and I use the word upgrade. And a lot of times, if patients trust you, I'll go in and I'll say, we've been monitoring this tooth. It's time for an upgrade. I'll see you on the schedule. And I learned that after 2008 because I had a practice that really took a dip in 2008, and it took a while for people to get back on board because I had a lot of elective procedures I was doing. But I think language and communication is going to become so important. And just like you said, it kind of pivots our focus back to the fundamentals. And we always know that the fundamentals is what drives our success. So I think you said that really well. Marisa, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I'm good. I completely agree with Dr. Fisher. We are all in for a roller coaster. We have no clue what's about to happen, but we're just going to go with it and make the best of every opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are a blessing, and like I told you earlier before we started, when James and I decided to do this, we couldn't think of two better people to be on our show because you guys are an inspiration. You're all about high quality teamwork, doing what's right, and so thank you very much for coming on. We got to wrap this up, but you got any last words for your team or other dentists out there that need a little inspiration?
Really, it's just knowing that we're all in this together. We're all facing hardships from this time. And I'm just all about the good vibes, good energy. If we go back in and we make the best of the situation and treat each other how we always have, I think we can get past this. And so, I'm really so excited. I've missed my team. I've missed the Fishers, him and his wife. And I love my dogs and I love my husband, but I'm just ready to see the world. In a safe way, though.
We're ready to see life get back to normal. I think it's going to be a new normal. I think this is going to be something of a paradigm shift, back like when gloves and eyewear and eye protection did 30 years ago. I think we're going to have a new normal that we're going to look back at the end of our careers and go, that was another one of those big paradigm shifts. And we're all for it. We're ready. I know we're ready emotionally. I think we're ready PPE-wise in every way possible. One of the really fun things, aside from the community virtually with you guys, is Marisa and I were talking about this last night. We've got a collection of dentists here in town that, again, it's very easy to get very sequestered in dentistry because you're so ingrained. And Todd mentioned this yesterday. It's when you're chair-sided and so hyper-focused, it's very easy that your entire life and practice can get that way because the next day is the next day and the next day.
Yeah.
And I know I've been like that. This has been, like I said yesterday, a reset for me to say, okay, here's a line in the sand. It doesn't matter how stressed, how busy, how whatever we were before this line, it is what we make it now. And one of the things we've enjoyed doing is getting a lot closer to some of the colleagues in our community, people that we know we work with in a vague way, but we've got, again, a text stream that we are now communicating in ways that we never ever did before. So it's so weird that this social isolation and this social distancing, which has been so profound when you see it in a physical realm, we're closer now in many ways than we ever were before this thing happened. And I think that's really
good point.
I want to see it say that.
Really good point. Hey, Michael, could you do one thing for us in post below your filter research and what you came up with, and also your infrared? What was the lights that you got?
Filter.
The filter.
The UV filter.
Filters they're from Guardian Technologies. Got them on Amazon when they still fit. I don't know if they're available anymore. As you know, those things have been going out like crazy. But the room filters we got were HEPA filters with UVC lights from Guardian Technologies. The extraoral suction units, we got 2 different brands to try. One is ADS through Patterson. The other is escaping me at the moment, but I can send it to you guys later.
Just post it in a thread, and that way everybody can go there for the research. Yeah. But thank you so much for coming on today. You folks inspire me, and with what I can tell you, with what you guys are doing, I've seen a lot of practices through the years. I really respect you folks because that comes with a lot of vision and fortitude and perseverance.
Both of you are the guys that we look up to as well. So thank you very much.
We look up to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for having us.
Wow, they're awesome. I'm glad we got them on there. And did I tell you what country they live in? I don't know if I mentioned that or not.
Well, I know I'm in El Paso, so it has to be in the
You're in northern
Texas.
El Paso, oceanfront property over there. Yeah, they're great. When I first met them, I was like, man, who are these people? They can't be so positive. There's got to be something wrong with them, and they're definitely high energy, positive people.
Well, I tell you that here was something I was going to quote today, and I'll give this out because this is what I heard with Marisa and Mike today. It says, "What will the defining moment be when you see the golden opportunity, and are you going to seek it?" And I think Michael brought that up today. Is that there may be a new norm, but you're going to see the positive aspect through that. You're going to adapt, and you're going to pivot. And you're going to give back to your clients. And they also said that if you're doing things right with a good heart and moral integrity, you will be successful. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, absolutely. And those 2 leaders in dentistry are going to do that. I have no problems with how their team is going to make it through. And what I loved about what they mentioned was how they're becoming more of a community with their other dentists. And, I've kind of felt that way too. Some of my colleagues we're kind of leaning on each other a little bit. And so, if a dentist is out there watching, you should reach out to some of your local guys. Yeah.
I got a challenge for them. And I know they're still listening, and I'm actually watching their eyes, even though they're not on the screen. But I'm looking forward to their coaching program that they're developing for an international audience, so we can sit at their feet and become better people.
Amen to that.
That's the challenge. That's the challenge to them.
They better do it because I know where they live.
I know.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Tomorrow we're still finishing up. Oh, my earpiece just came out. We're finishing up with Aaron Elliott and Diane Snitzer tomorrow. They've got huge followings, and it's going to be great. So, and then we've got I'll post who we have on Sunday. So we got somebody big.
I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. I know Dr. Elliott's already had an impact on my life, and I'm going to tell her about it tomorrow. You'll have to be there to see. And thanks, Todd, for hosting this and getting the Wi-Fi up. That's always a little gift factor that you have to do, never knowing where it is in the world. But we've learned a lot about Wi-Fi and Skype.
All right. Let's say goodbye. Thanks, James.
Stay safe. Bye.